Hey, what's happening, everybody? Whoa, it's the Silver Fox here. Welcome to the Fox Den. We're totally unedited, unfiltered here, as you can see. So just want to talk about if you're looking for a used car, new car, this will probably be the chat for you. Um, I have a friend who basically opened my eyes on the whole reason why you can't find an affordable used car, new car, and it all goes back to the always said the P word. It all goes back to the last couple of years where people had free government money and they either put down payments on lease cars, which I think all you need is a couple $100 that you can put a down payment on a lease. At least that was the case a couple years ago. Maybe it's changed. But you could easily get a lease car, and the catch is they get you on any damages to the car, any high mileage, or if you don't maintain it. Or those government checks also went to um, deposits on newer cars, and ironically enough, those cars. Granted, there was probably some slowdown on workers building those cars and the whole debacle of the last couple of years, but they were being turned out and they didn't even have certain features that the customer paid extra for, which is like ridiculous. Um, so there's all this free money around it. Everybody's grabbing at these cars, these leases, and everybody, including us, we went car shopping over the wintertime and we went to Honda, Toyota. We used to look at Ford when we were looking at their SUV line, but I guess we kind of came to the most economical idea was a minivan, and what they told us was they have a couple new ones come in like every month, but they've already been spoken for, and they're all like 50, 60, $70,000 minivans, and I'm like, there's no way anybody can afford that. My wife, I haven't had a double rate in income from us working. There's no way a car should be twice as much as what it used to be. So we just want to play ball, and I said all that money is ridiculous. There's no way I'm paying that much. There's no way I'm paying the extra dealer fees, add-ons, and apparently I kind of saw this too. If you don't want to play ball with them, there'll be somebody else right behind you that'll take that minivan out or that car or that truck. And so they kind of have a system going to where um, so here's really how it shakes out. So manufacturers are building based off of how many units or cars they're selling at the dealerships. The dealerships were selling less inventory, but at a higher markup price because people were desperate or had the money. And so basically, that translates to the factories building less, and that factors into the dealerships doing less sales but making more money. And so eventually, this whole idea of it um, being a dealership in the control of the consumer isn't going to last. And I think it actually hurts consumers' trust with these brands because I can tell you this to being told that we had to pre-order a minivan and couldn't even see it, and it would only be to the specifications of what they said, and we had no control over the price and the add-ons and this and that. It was, I don't know, it felt kind of disgusting walking in there. Um, they always say, "Oh, we're the dealer for the people," or "We're here for you. We're here to serve you, and anything you want." It didn't really feel that way. It just felt like, how much money can they make from us? And if not us, somebody else. And there's people every day I saw driving home a new car, new truck, and I was like, "That's 80 grand. That's 100 grand." People can't afford that. I think they just don't realize what they're doing. And so basically, these dealerships, they're going to run out of people. They're not going to get credit backed by whatever the big bank, or I know some of the manufacturers do their own financing to the dealerships. And so if they eventually the consumer's going to be tapped out, they can't buy a new car, truck, whatever. And so they're not going to sell enough. And then they're going to be sitting on these units that um, it's called like a floor plan. I used to sell boats and luxury boats a while ago. And so I talked to one time we had a banker inventory type person come in and he worked for Wells Fargo and he said every single boat on the floor had an APR and I think at that time it was like 2 or 3% in 2019. And so you got to think somebody's paying money on those cars just sitting out there in the lot. And I have a good video coming up for a dealership down the road, and they've actually expanded into um, another parking lot across the way, and they just have trucks lined up. They're like the commercial white trucks, and there's probably like 100 of them just sitting there in the snow and everything. It's crazy. So eventually, if they have any product, they're going to be paying APR on it. I think the dealership's game right now is to play, hey, we don't have any inventory and you'll have to pay up for it. And we got all these markups and adjustments that you have to pay for and see how long that lasts. But eventually they're just not going to sell enough to where, I don't know, go out of business and people are sick and tired of it. But this also translates into the used market, which we were just in. And the people buying the new cars, which the seller of our car did, they bought a brand new Toyota minivan. And what they do is they pay less for the trade-in. And if they feel they can't sell it right away, or if it's kind of a crappy car, they'll send it to auction. And whatever it brings to auction, you know, for instance, the car that we bought privately through Facebook Marketplace, another video, I'll show you guys how to make a good deal. 5 grand Kelly Blue Book for a dealer trade-in, and private sale it was worth like 89.99, so almost 9 grand, and that's the dealer's profit. They're making about 4 grand um, for a car going to a dealer auction. And the ironic thing is, since there's less new cars being sold, there's less used cars going to these auctions. And so it's kind of two prong. Less used cars going to auction, more people holding on to their cars because they can't afford a new car or they just kept really good care of it. And so this is creating this enormous tornado of people can't afford a new car. All the new cars are overpriced. I think Ford came out this week saying they're going to voluntarily take people for retirement or like a severance package. But they're eventually going to cut production because these dealers they're charging so much money that they can't do the production, like units per a store. And I think that really goes against their idea of making money off of each product and instead being money grabbing. And a lot of these cars are almost what a luxury car would cost. And I know Dodges, they're asking the same money for a Chevy or a Ford, and Dodge is usually the lesser of the three as far as cost or quality go. In my opinion, some people could argue with me on that, but it's just this crazy cyclone. People can't afford new, so they'll have to buy used, and used cars are expensive too. So it's just this crazy cyclone. I don't think it'll last forever, but that's kind of what you have to understand you're up against. And I will tell you, in the used car market, the people asking for our minivan was around like 11 grand, but at the bottom of their for sale on Facebook Marketplace, they said that they're willing to negotiate. So that means you can whittle them down. And so there wasn't a whole lot wrong with it, but there were some few things with it being used. And I said, hey, look, we'll pay Kelly Blue Book. And I know that at the Toyota dealership, they offered you five. So I said, we'll give you like 89.99 or whatever it was, 8,700, somewhere around there. And and they were like, oh no, we'll take 9 grand. I was like, yeah, fat chance. And there's also not a lot of people walking around with 9 grand of the bank to just hand you a cashier's check. You know, we weren't taking out a loan or anything. And so they waited a day or so with us saying no more, and they made the deal. So I mean, they bought a brand new Toyota hybrid, like 50, $60,000. I honestly think in the next year or two that they're going to regret that decision. But whatever, out of my control. Got a good deal. Got a better van than what we had, so we're happy. But I think at least our perspective was pay cash, buy a used car right now, and my wife would like a new one, a new commuter car eventually. But I think we just have to wait. We have to wait for all the Fed rate hikes and for all this dumb fast money coming through and all these repos. And I also forgot to say that with these market adjustments from the dealership, like where MSRP is 50 grand, but they market adjust it because it's a rare car, not too many are out, they'll charge like 60 grand for it. And people pay it. And whoever's making the loans on that car, usually local regional banks, credit unions, they're on the hook for a car that's not even worth that much, like MSRP, and they drive it off the lot. It's worth like 20% off of the cost right away. So buy $100,000 premium truck, it's only worth 80 as soon as they drive it off. And I know everybody's like, well, it's worth more now. It's the whatever inflation. That's not going to last forever. Nobody can afford these car prices. They're insane. So these banks aren't going to repo these cars right now. Or if they are, they're going to, they know that they can't get the amount of money that's owed on the car. And if they take it to auction, no one's going to pay that much because paying adjusted rates is just crazy. So it's all these different things, but I think eventually there's going to be a flood on the used car market, and I think eventually the car manufacturers are going to make a better car and just do it per a unit basis and not on mass units and not per a unit price. But these dealerships got to figure this out too because consumers are paying for it. So I guess I can't blame them. We have to be smart consumers. So guys, please